I mean, it seems that we have a strategy in place in terms of providing air support to the Iraqi security forces on the ground, or the Peshmerga in the Kurdish areas to the north. But it doesn't seem like that is an effective strategy at this point, that it is just not working. You can get into semantics as to whether we're winning or losing or failing, but that strategy just doesn't seem to work. So, I mean, what do you propose, do you think, at this point?
Yeah, Jim, I'd like to point out a couple of things. I think that there's definitely more that we can do in providing these decisive blows with airstrikes against these ISIS strongholds. But the Iraqi government actually does have a choice. They have a choice by arming directly the Sunni tribesmen. As your correspondent just pointed out, they are woefully under-equipped. They have the will to fight. They are on the ground begging, saying, please give us the heavy weapons, the arms, the ammunition that we need to be able to fight against ISIS. Instead, the Iraqi government is relying completely on this Iranian-backed Shia military. The U.S. government is now saying, well, we're going to expedite more arms, more ammunition, and these anti-tank weapons to the Iraqi government when we see that these Iraqi security forces have cut and run and left their weapons for ISIS at a few opportunities, and these weapons are getting into the hands of the Shia militia. And I want to point out something that happened in the while we were going through the Armed Services Committee hearing process for the National Defense Authorization Act, where I co-sponsored an amendment that would authorize the U.S. government directly arming the Kurds and the Shias. We had a leader of this Shia militia, Muqtada al-Sadr, as we were going through this hearing live, quote, he said, if this bill is passed, we will have no choice but to unfreeze the military wing that deals with the Americans so it can start targeting American interests both in and outside of Iraq. So when you look at this, these are the people that the United States is aligning itself with, who are essentially saying, we're going to come out and attack you if you don't do what we want.
And Congressman, I want to ask you this, because you heard some fellow Republicans this week, Senator Lindsey Graham, John McCain, talk about a proposal to send in roughly 10,000 troops into Iraq, primarily to do training and provide intelligence, that sort of thing, not to go and fight house to house in combat situations. What do you make of that proposal? Does that sound reasonable to you? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, it's reasonable. I'm not sure the exact number, but let's think about where we've been here. And the question is, are we winning against ISIS? 18 months ago, I called for bombing ISIS when they moved into Fallujah. At the time, we thought it was al-Qaeda because they had yet to go through their divorce. I was accused of wanting to start Iraq 3. But we saw what happened then as it went on. ISIS grew, and eventually people got engaged and wanted to destroy them. We're seeing this movement continue to grow, and I think at this point we have to understand that every day that goes by where we don't push this cancer back, where we allow them to put car bombs in alleys, we allow them to put IEDs in towns that they occupy right now, every day that goes by, the cost of liberating Iraq or the cost of defeating this cancer is only going to increase. So I think we have to do the force that's proportionate and, frankly, the violence proportionate necessary to push back ISIS. The president likes to talk about the fact that we're not going to send 200,000 troops into Iraq. I agree. I've not even heard a single person ever say that we need another 200,000 troops back in Iraq.
You think that's a straw man argument?
Saying, what I am saying,
a bogus argument?
I think it's absolutely a straw. I think absolutely. If you see how the president argues a lot, he likes to put two false choices up and say he's the one in the middle. I think the one in the middle right now is saying, what do we need to do to be able to embolden the Iraqi military where it exists, to arm the Peshmerga? I agree with Tulsi, arm the Peshmerga, arm the Sunnis. The problem is the Peshmerga can't liberate all of Iraq. They have a 600-mile border with ISIS as it exists today. They're struggling to maintain their own territory. It's a very complicated battle.
It is, but I guess, what do you make of what Congressman Kinzinger just said there? He's okay with 10,000, maybe less, maybe more troops going in there. But you know this, deployment after deployment, it's breaking military families across this country on this Memorial Day weekend. That may not be the news they necessarily want to hear. More and more lawmakers calling for troops to go back into Iraq one more time. How do you prevent mission creep from occurring, Congresswoman?
Well, I think it's important for us to really focus on what our mission and goal and objective should be, which is defeating ISIS. Let's look back to Iraq several years ago, where we had over 100,000 U.S. troops there training these Iraqi security forces. After the United States pulled out, you saw how these Iraqi security forces lasted. They cut and ran and dropped their weapons when they were faced with their first real battle with ISIS. So the issue here is not about how many U.S. troops can be sent to train these Iraqi security forces, because you can't train into someone the will to fight. They don't have the will to fight. This Iraqi security force organization, you do have people who have the will and the courage to fight, as we've seen time and again with the Kurdish Peshmerga. Now these Sunni tribes are asking for the equipment that they need to be able to protect their families and their communities.
Hey, Jim.
And yet, unfortunately, we are still not taking care of and doing with the obvious. We have these boots on the ground there who are ready to fight.
And we're going to have to wrap it up there.
Jim, can I just...
Congressman, we've got to go, but we appreciate your time. Go ahead and jump in there if you've got something to say.
Well, let me just say real quickly, the American military wants to defeat our enemies, and I think they're ready to go. They're ready to be unleashed, which is necessary, and that's what they're called to do.